Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We're really glad you're here. Today, we have got a great show talking about the joys of travel around the world with one of our favorite guys who are favorite travelers, Luke Hillos. And Kyle's here as our co-host today, and we're having lots of fun. We're going to talk about the notion of travel and mental health, how to prepare, how to think about it while you're there, and what to do on return. But right now, we're just going to talk to Luke. You are listening to Mental Health Matters, 100.1 on your FM dial. And these shows are archived at KRUU. You could email us if you have any questions. Scott, S-C-O-T-T, at ardentcenter.com. Ardent is A-R-D-E-N-T, C-E-N-T-E-R.com. Scott at ardentcenter.com. And KRUU, you could pick up the recordings there. And they're also videoed, funnily enough, on our YouTube channel at Ardent Counseling Center's YouTube, if you prefer that way of listening to some of these old programs. All right, so today's program is looking at travel, but as you're listening to this notion of travel, also think about it for your life being an adventure. Think about no matter where you are, if you're in Fairfield, Iowa, or Chicago, wherever you are around the world, when you think about your own life as an adventure, and then sometimes that adventure goes really great and you're really excited, and sometimes it gets interrupted. Sometimes the bus doesn't come. Sometimes relationships don't work as you'd like them to. Things happen. Sometimes we get sick. So how do we deal with life going really great and taking advantage of it? And also, when things don't go so great, what do we do to make things better? So, Kyle, say hi.
Hi, I'm Kyle. I'm one of Scott's interns, and I'm glad that you're here with us today.
All right. And Luke, introduce yourself.
Hey, this is Luke. So I'm a Fairfield native. I'm 26 years old, and I've been traveling for the last 3 months. About 2 of those months were in Australia, and the last month was spent here in Europe. So I got to have an interview with...
Yes, Luke. Your line keeps coming in and out here. I could see this being difficult, so he's having a conversation. So, Luke, tell us more. All right, Luke, we're back on. So say that again. We kind of missed the wonderful locations where you've been.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Europe now, but I spent my first 2 months of my 3-month journey so far in Australia, which began in the southern part of Australia in Melbourne. Then I flew to the northeast, which is tropical, a city called Cairns. And then I made a friend out there who I got a camper van with, and we drove all the way out to the center of Australia to see Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock. And then we drove down to the southern central area to a city called Adelaide. And then I went on my own with the camper van, following which I flew to Europe. I was in England for a week, Germany for a week, Holland for a week, Italy for a week, and now I've been in Norway for a week. So that's a macroscopic picture of where I've been in my journey so far.
Wow. All right. Fantastic. So what have you learned about your journey? So let's, how are you managing yourself? Actually, let's take a step back. How did you manage before you ever took this grand journey to get yourself ready for this?
The way I prepared was I knew where I was going to stay my first night when my plane landed, but the whole rest of it was completely open to have unfold as it would. And that was specific in the design because I knew that if I tried to plan what I would be experiencing along the way, I would miss what would be better opportunities that would unfold based on who I would meet and where I would be, things that I had no idea that existed until I would show up there. And I think the question that you might be asking is, well, how did you get that kind of mindset? What did you do before you left to have that mindset? And I'm not exactly sure what to say other than that I've done this kind of thing before. some years ago, I just threw myself into some travel situations, knowing basically nothing, and it seemed like everything would always work out, that I would find a better side of people than I knew existed, or I'd find a stronger and more resourceful side of myself that I didn't know existed, and everything would work out. So I already had that experience. So in terms of my advice, I guess, on how to cultivate that sense of trust that the universe will provide, it's just to go out and do it.
Well, that's fantastic. And, but part of this I think you're not giving yourself enough credit for is that, traveling can be really stressful. And some people are afraid of flying. Sometimes, yes, things can happen, but you prepare a little bit, basically where you're going, basically the language, basically about money. You do certain things. You take travel insurance, you take, where medical facilities, you do what you need to do so you can be on your way to create the world that you want to create. And yes, it's easier when you're younger to do that, but there's still a sense of, I'm going to manage my stress. I'm going to take care of me. I'm not just throwing myself into the deep end with no life raft. Luke?
Yes.
So.
Definitely yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's certainly some of that with you, of like looking up some ideas of what you kind of want to create for yourself. There's still a vision, even if it's a vague vision, it's still a vision of, I want this grand adventure. I'm willing to connect with people. And yes, I've prepared enough money and resources and medicine if I need it, or whatever I need to take care of myself. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would say so. So here is my approach to having peace of mind in the journey. I mean, the first thing is I began the journey with about $8,000, which I had as a combination of what I had saved and some family gift that I had. So I knew that wherever I was, if I needed a hotel or a hostel or a taxi, I had the money to get that. So that was my first security blanket, that I knew, okay, anytime I need food to eat or a place to sleep or ride somewhere, I've got that. And then the second thing is I tapped into my connections that I knew, and I found a number of people scattered around Australia that I either knew directly or that I had one or two, that I had a friend that knew someone, or a friend that knew someone who knew someone. So I had some connections, and then, beyond that, I just knew that, the people would take care of me. I would find a way, and I just kind of a trust that things would work out.
But again, and I don't want to belabor the point, but it's really fascinating. Before you left, you also had a really good routine. You knew to eat healthy, to get your sleep, to meditate, to exercise, that you had a structure that you were carrying with you. And I think sometimes the stress gets to people because, maybe they meditate when they're home alone, but they don't meditate while they're traveling because they're so excited. Or they eat healthy when they're alone, while they're, at home, but while they're traveling, they might eat too many rich foods and not take care of themselves or not sleep a lot. So I'm sure you had some of this notion of like, I'm going to take care of myself as I'm doing this as well. Luke?
I appreciate you reminding me of that, because I'm so used, like you said, I've had a routine for years and years of good rest, of regular meditation, of taking care of my body, of eating well, all these things that I don't even really think about it that much. And it's very true. In my trip, for the most part, I've maintained good sleep, I've maintained regular meditation, I've eaten decent food, And I think, and actually I said this to myself and I said this to my family. I said, my trip will go well as long as I stay well rested, I'm meditating regularly, and I'm eating good food. Then the rest of it's going to unfold.
Luke, Luke, I remember, as most people know, most people who know Luke, he's a pretty, renowned magician. World renowned. He's done magician all over Iowa and India and and I'm sure Australia now and Norway. I remember Luke and I, we were just gonna go travel and we went to Ottumwa. Traveled all the way to Ottumwa from Fairfield, which
small
is
town from half an hour from
small
here,
town to small town, and we just went there and we had fun. Luke showed some people his magic and stuff, and but before this, I think Luke had planned on having a show, and it was actually on a different day that he had planned it on, and but my point is that before this big magic show Luke was gonna do, he had told me that he had just done a long meditation program. He had gotten good rest the night before. He had good lunch, and how some people prepare for big events and big traveling. Something big is they worry. They stay up all night the night before, preparing as much as they can, and they wait last second to pack, and they vamp themselves up, but it really sounds like, Luke, when you prepare yourself for traveling or something new or something big, you settle yourself down and create structure from within, and then you're able to sort of vamp up when you're out there doing whatever you need to do.
But you don't lose yourself while you're doing it, which is the key, that you could really explore what's going on outside of you while you're settled inside. And I think that's a really interesting point. Again, to my analogy of our lives are an adventure, and if we're too caught up in the difficulties or the stress and we lose our center, that's when we fall apart. And it's like reestablishing what's our structure, who are we, who do we want to create ourselves to be every day, and keeps working on that power, which gives us the power to have the adventure. Okay, so enough of us. Luke, come back to you. Luke?
Yeah, really well said. Kyle, I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so Kyle, I couldn't have said it better, and Scott, definitely, it's really true, and I appreciate you guys reminding me of this, that I've been very regular in activities that keep me centered, with my rest, with meditation, with good food, even getting, moderate exercise, whatever it is. I've maintained those habits that keep me centered, and I think that's really been the core of getting to enjoy the unbounded world of uncertainty from a place of joy.
Excellent.
Very well put.
So fantastic. So let's get back to your adventure and tell us some of some interesting stories here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's a set of stories just as they come up in my mind right now. One of the most captivating ones was there was a girl that I was hanging out with in Australia who was from England, and we had 2 or 3 days together where we were at the same hostel, and then we parted ways. A whole month later, I was in Amsterdam getting off a train, and guess who I run into? Her.
Wow.
It was completely unreal.
That's so exciting.
And I had another moment about a week or so later where I was in Rome, in Italy, in Rome, in a sea of thousands of tourists outside of a place called the Basilica of St. Peter. And 2 girls come running up to me. They said, hey, were you just in Amsterdam telling a story at a storytelling night? And that was me. And it's like, wow, sometimes the universe just feels so small and interconnected.
Well, and that's fantastic. By the way, you're listening to KRUU 100.1 on your FM dial. You are listening to Mental Health Matters. Today we're talking about travel and the sense of adventure and how we could bring that adventure home, and what makes adventure travel so successful is coming back to that sense of structure within so we can create something outside ourselves. And it's just so easy to lose that and just get caught up in things. But what you were talking about, Luke, is that having that balance and that openness, and then it's like you meet this girl, and then a while later you run into her from Australia. All of a sudden you're running into her, in Amsterdam, and then you give, and the fact that you're even doing storytelling nights, and then running into people a while later in Italy, just shows so much about you putting yourself out there. And I think that's another point to really make about travel, is to really go for it. Once you have that centeredness of I'm taking care of me, I could really go for it. And that's what I hear you doing.
Absolutely. The theme of going for it is one of the most important lessons that I've deeply taken, that I want to impart to everyone who's listening. That basically everything good that's happened on this trip, and there's been a huge amount of good, was always precipitated by going for it. It was some bold move. It was going up to someone and saying hi, or it was going and offering someone help, or it was being at the storytelling night and saying, I'll tell a story. I'll stand in front of everyone and tell a story. Here, I got another story.
Go. Say.
At the beginning of my trip, the day one of my trip was that really set the theme for my whole trip. Was I was beginning my trip flying out of Des Moines to go to Dallas, and then I was going to fly from Dallas to Australia. So I flew from Des Moines to Dallas, connecting through the Colorado airport, Denver airport, on Easter Day. It was March 27th this year. It was Easter Day. And this was a crazy move on my part, but I went for it. I wore a full-body Easter Bunny costume as I was going through the planes and the airports.
I remember seeing that on Facebook.
Real, something. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was afraid. I almost didn't wear it that morning when I was getting up to go to the airport, because I thought, what if I just look like a fool all day, and I'm all alone? I don't have anyone with me to comfort me or to tell me I'm okay. I just look stupid all day long. But I just went for it anyways. And it made so many people smile and laugh. I must have had 100 pictures taken of me. And people who wanted, grandmothers who wanted to show me to their grandkids so they take a picture of me. The flight attendants at one of my flights asked me if I would go through the plane while I was flying and give candy to the kids. One of my flights, before it took off, the pilots invited me into the cockpit because they wanted a picture with me. How about that? And I got friends who I'm still in touch with, and it was funny and happy all day long. And it's just it's really that this theme of going for it, that when you have an idea and it might fail and you might look stupid, but you never know, it might be pretty cool. You just get in the habit of going for it.
Now, Luke, what
makes it possible for the magic to unfold? Scott?
Luke, what made you decide to play the role of the happy, friendly bunny instead of like a grumpy bunny? It just going for just being a grumpy man in a bunny suit.
Kyle. So to go back to this theme of going for it, to continue from the Amsterdam night. So it was this night where I had showed up in Amsterdam with a guy that I didn't even plan to travel with, and we had no plans of where we were going to sleep that night. And we ran into a couple
You ran into a couple.
Cheese museum who were also traveling, and they said, hey, we're going to this storytelling night at a local bar. You want to come? I said, yeah. We said, yeah, we'll come. And so we show up, and people are telling stories. It's like an open mic for storytelling, and then I get the courage to tell a story. And at the end, we're all hanging out, and there was someone over there we're talking with, and I had this. We needed a place to stay that night. We didn't have anything figured out. And I just said, hey, can we stay with you? And there was this moment,
We are listening to Luke as he's calling in from Norway, and so there's a little interruption sometime as he's calling in on his Skype phone. So we'll get back to Luke here in just a second.
So, Scott, what do you think about all this and the traveling?
I think it's powerful, and I think Luke's message really shows us the sense of adventure that we can create for ourselves. That it's creating this mindset. And what we've heard from Luke before is this sense of, I can really go for it because I'm centered. You know, one of the interesting things about knowing Luke is that he's not, while he's going for it, doesn't mean that he has to then distort his mind even more.
Right.
He's not getting drunk and stoned every day,
Right.
so to speak. Not that there's something wrong with having a beer once in a while or something, if that works for your body or whatever it is. But the problem is that I'm already on an adventure. I don't need an adventure within my adventure within an adventure to alter what I'm doing.
He doesn't need to go on vacation to escape. He's going on vacation to create something, to create happiness. This is what I was getting at with the Grumpy Bunny. Luke has on his mind that he wants to go and create happiness and joy in the world. He doesn't want to go out there and escape his world. He wants to go out there and create in his world.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of it when we come back to that analogy. Hey, Luke, you're back.
hey, here I am, yes.
Yeah, and we were me and Kyle were just talking about really you sum it up, Kyle.
We were just talking about how my real point with the Grumpy Bunny was that just to rehash for Luke, is that Luke wants to go out there and create joy. He doesn't want to go out there and escape. He's not out there to, get wasted, and not that there's something wrong with not having, a beer if that works for your body every once in a while.
Or whatever.
And but he's not there to escape. He's not traveling to escape. He's traveling to create, and what he wants to create is joy. He doesn't want to create grumpiness. Actually, Luke, can I share a story? I don't think I've shared this story with you.
Yeah, please do.
So on my 21st birthday, I was in Paris with my with a couple of Parisian friends. Syed, who is from his family's actually from Egypt and Mali, and we were and so for my 21st birthday, they asked me, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And they're Muslims and they don't drink, and I didn't really care for drinking back then, and so or now really, and. I was thinking, what do I want to do? And I just thought, oh, well, in about a half hour, it's going to be midnight, and it's going to be my birthday, and where do I want to be? I want to be on the Eiffel Tower and looking out at Paris. That's how I want to remember my birthday. And so right at 12 p.m., we got up there on the Eiffel Tower, and at 12 p.m. On the dot, the Eiffel Tower glows golden.
Wow.
And so you can see it from a distance if you're at a distance, or if you're right there, you see, it glowing right there. And so it was just like 12, it was like, we actually got up on the top of the building at 11:58, and it was just like, we waited like 1 or 2 minutes, and then it was just like, boom, my birthday. And that's how I remember my 21st birthday. I didn't need to get wasted. I didn't need to, smoke weed. And I did have some alcohol and drug addiction back then. But what I wanted to create was friendship, happiness, and joy. And so your story really resonates with me, Luke.
Well, and I think, Luke, in our last 3 minutes here on this show, is the powerful part to take away again, if you're traveling or if you're just seeing your life as an adventure, which is the point we're trying to make today, is that we don't need to run away. We're running towards something adventurous, something we're creating, something powerful for our lives. So, Luke, how do you want to finish up for the last couple of minutes here on this show?
Yeah, I think I want to share one of the ways that I've grown as a result of this trip, which was a large part of what I wanted when setting out on the trip. That I've often felt like I was, how to put this? I'll just make it real simple since we're basically out of time. By the time I flew from Australia to Europe, going from Australia to Europe just felt like I was driving from Fairfield to Iowa City. I had become so identified with a sense of freedom that it was just natural and normal, and that's what I wanted, to get to from 3 months of extended freedom to just infuse that sense of freedom into my mind. And I felt like this trip has had that effect for me.
And that's amazing, and that's really what's so powerful. And again, could you see taking this back home with you? How do you reintegrate when you come back home? And I know we're going to do another show here, but just a word of thought, like your next stage. I got this adventure still going to continue for a while. Are you going to take this home with you? This sense of freedom and adventure and going for it. Luke?
Absolutely. I think in a sense the trip will never end, in the sense that the adventure will always continue, even into career, into family, whatever it is, that this new infusion of adventure and freedom will always be there, even if I'm living within the confines of a work schedule and family obligations. In terms of integrating back, it's definitely going to be a bit hard to get used to being in one place again, and I'm hoping I can set up my life with a fair amount of flexibility in terms of location and time, because it's just so wonderful to decide every day what I'll do, or to go out and see people, go places when I want to. It's like surfing the waves of my heart. That's what it feels like, and I'd love to live this way forever. So we'll see. And I don't exactly know how it's going to be to integrate back, but I know that I'll find a way, just like I have been for the last several months.
Okay, and that's great. And I love how you're saying this. It's so beautiful, surfing the waves of my heart. I mean, and it's taking that adventure home even when you're not traveling, because that adventure really happens in your mind. And as we say, even if you're not traveling, even if you're going nowhere, you're going towards it. You're running towards creating that adventure today. We're not running away from something. We're not hiding. We're creating a world that works for all of us today to make a difference. So thank you so much, Luke. And like I said, we're going to do another one of these, but is there anything else you want to say goodbye on this show?
That's it for now. Thanks so much for the opportunity to share.
Keep traveling, as they say, right? So bye.
Bye.